So I think at this point it's fair to say that most people accept that 4 and 1, the pentagram and the main spider's web, are connected to the spider web mystery. For those who don't believe that the pentagram or pentangle is connected to the spiderweb mystery, I'd put you to my video regarding the first trail, this one. If you watch that and you still don't agree, please put your thoughts in the comments of that video. I'd be very interesting to hear any criticisms. So that leaves us with 2 and 3. Now, I'm not going to go too heavily into 3. The only thing I would say about it is it very much depends on whether you believe the tally marks go to Cornwall's kerosene and tar factory, or whether, as I'm suggesting, they actually lead us finally to one of the trading posts. I will, however, once I've finished these few videos, I will be looking at the Curse of Valentine, so I may disappear again for a little bit while I do my research, but I'm not going to cover it too heavily today. So that leaves us with 2, the UFOs, which, to be fair, I know very little about. However, while making the last video, I did find something very interesting at Hanny Bethel, which does seem to suggest that the Curse of Valentine is going to lead there in some manner. And this may also explain why we have dialogue for a coach trip from Emerald Ranch to Valentine. Although how that fits in is still somewhat of a mystery to me. I think I can pretty much decipher all the other dialogues and clues relating to the Curse of Valentine, but this one I still find very strange, and I'm at a bit of a loss to explain why it's even there. However, there are a couple of pieces of information at Henny Bethel that do lead me to conclude that this is definitely connected to the spider web. The first is, right outside the shack at Hanny Bethel, there is a skull with 2 feathers off it. The feathers are black, the skull's got a kind of red shade to it, and it's hanging on what looks like a telegraph pole which isn't actually connected to anything. So that's a bit odd. Secondly, if you go and read the mysterious sermon, the 3rd line contains a Swahili word, which I'm not going to try and pronounce, which others have translated to mean hidden, which would nicely describe the entity that we seem to be seeking. Another interesting aspect of Hanny Bethel is that we are led to believe that the people there have all effectively offed themselves to go on this great intergalactic journey. And yet there are 2 bodies here which don't seem to meet that criteria. The majority of the bodies have tin cups next to them, implying that they've drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak. But there are 2 that don't. Furthermore, those 2 that don't have the sheets pulled up over their head, implying that they died before everyone else, because someone else must have pulled the sheet over their head once they passed away. Furthermore, in both of these cases, we can see a large amount of blood from the head area has stained the blanket, which while we see blood staining the blankets of other casualties, it's usually more spread out. So it looks to me like these 2 individuals didn't take their own lives, but had their lives taken by other members of this cult. Now, a lot of people have obviously associated this cult with Heaven's Gate, and if you go and have a quick look at the Wikipedia entry for Heaven's Gate, I think you'll agree. However, Heaven's Gate did not murder any of its members. So if these 2 were murdered, it implies that this isn't just inspired by Heaven's Gate, but by other cults as well, possibly the Temple of the Solar Order, which was at the same time as Heaven's Gate, or even the Jamestown Massacre, which happened about 20 years earlier, which is where we get the phrase, "don't drink the Kool-Aid." Although, to be fair, it wasn't actually Kool-Aid they drink, it was Grape-Aid, a mistake made by the media. Now, there's one more unusual thing I've found at Hanny Bethel, and that's this. On the wall, behind the headmaster, so to speak, there is this image. Now, I don't know if it's a spider web, but it would be a bit strange if the spiders only created a web in that one area, so I think it unlikely. It does seem to be something that's been drawn there, but what it means and why it's there, I'm not too sure. I have suspicions, but I'm not too sure. Now, I must say at this point, I've never really followed the UFO mystery. True, I've gone and seen the UFOs because, like everyone else, flashing lights pretty, and because of that, my next video I'm hoping to do something a little bit different, a reaction video on someone else's investigation in this area, and I'm hoping the artist formerly known as Swan the Gamer, Ready Player Swan, may look into this further, seeing as it does seem to be related to the moon and the stars, and he has made some significant content in that area. But getting back to the connection of all 4 of these sites. One thing must be true. If these timed events are the beginnings of each stage of a trail or each new trail, depending on which way you view it, then the Curse of Valentine must lead into Hanny Bethel, as I previously said. But then the UFO trail starting at Hanny Bethel would have to lead us to the main spider web of the Spiderweb Trail, which means that the main spider web is the beginning of the Spiderweb Mystery Trail, not the carving on the telegraph pole. It also explains how we were meant to find the central web, because we've only found it by just looking everywhere. Whereas I believe the UFO trail will lead us directly to that web. So that then leaves the question, why is there the engraving of a spider on the telegraph pole? Either this trail will lead us back to this position, or it's there so we know which pole is the first that we have to retrieve the feather from. And presumably, if that's the case, we would have to work clockwise to gather all the feathers. Or at least that's the only rationale I can think of. If you can think of anything else, you know where the comment section is. Looking at all four destinations and thinking of the phrase that we found in the trading hut, history is written by fools, I've come to a couple of conclusions. See, history written by fools can have multiple meanings. It could be referring to the historians who often make the mistakes. Right now, we've got a little bit of a battle with people like Mr. Hancock, claiming a lost civilization was wiped out in the Younger Dryas, and professional historians and archaeologists shouting him down as a pseudo-historian, which I find very strange because historians should know that even when we've got a theory, it's very rarely that we can say it's 100% accurate. And furthermore, their plight isn't helped by the fact that they have so often got things wrong. We were told that the oldest known human stone structure was 4,000 years ago, and yet now we've found Göbekli Tepe, we've put that back to 11,000 years ago. We've been told Clovis first was the first group of Americans, and now we're having to revise that because it isn't the case. Genetics shows us it isn't the case. But in truth, I don't think that's what Rockstar is referring to. I think Rockstar is referring to the media. And given the nature of all four of these symbols, the pentagram relating to unusual ritual practices, the ghost train, which ghosts, UFOs, and then the spider web possibly representing monsters. They all seem like the kind of thing that you'd see on the History Channel. And at the end of the day, it's the media that popularizes historical theories. The average citizen isn't going to be reading a 40-page theory laid down by historians. They'll wait for the cliff notes that the media gives them. And as the History Channel illustrates, the more sensational the theory, the more views you get. And I think that might be what they're actually referring to. Now, all four of these symbols are obviously connected to horror themes. All of them are things you'd expect to see in TV series like The X-Files, and all of them are things that we would decorate our homes with at Halloween. And that leaves me to this comment from a while ago now, which was put on the video regarding the tally marks, the first one, from Boogie's Revenge 2087, and he stated, I've seen higher numbers. It was leading into Halloween. I've yet to find them again. Now, at first, I didn't know what to make of this comment, but now it seems very poignant. Do the tally marks only show up during the Halloween period? Do we have to wait till October for us to be able to see them again? Will we not be able to solve this trail till October? You may say, why would Rockstar want that or do that? Well, it would create a lot of interest in the Rockstar franchises just prior to the release of Grand Theft Auto 6, which comes out in November. I mean, that's a very forward-thinking plan, if that's the case. Although October, November is always the best time to release a game, so you can take advantage of the Christmas period. Obviously, October and November is one of the best times to release something like a game or a toy, because parents will go out and buy it for their children for Christmas. Equally, other family relatives will buy presents for their families at Christmas, so seems a perfect timing. And I don't think it's an accident that we're discussing this mystery now. I think that Rockstar may have leaked a few clues to the community to get the ball rolling. So that's my thoughts so far on this situation. Hopefully we can convince Ready Player Swan to look further into this situation, and hopefully How I Play may also look further into this situation, as it is an area he has been currently looking at. I do think it is a positive thing that all three of us seem to be converging on the same trail from different starting points. So hopefully we'll be getting further down this trail very soon. Be seeing you.